Hello, I'm going to show you Maria the First, or Portugal. I'm going to tell you about the 4 victory conditions I'd recommend if you were to play as her, the 2 unique units that they have alongside the social policies I'd recommend if you were to play as Portugal. So, she will have Mara Clausum, if I pronounce that correctly, meaning resource diversity grants twice as much gold for Portugal in trade routes. Essentially, this civilization is a powerhouse for getting gold. It's all about the trade routes, trade routes, trade routes. I cannot spout that out enough. So, the number one thing that she can do is diplomatic victory. Her personality trait is great for it. The trade routes are magnificent. You'll need to make sure that you make trade routes with city-states, with AIs. The only time you should be fighting them is because you feel a huge need to do so, for whatever reason that may be. And then the Featora, might be pronouncing that wrong, grants extra resources to the Nalos, increase gold from trade routes, and patronage plus World Congress seals the deal. I mean, it really does. If you become the World Congress leader alongside having patronage and having all those city-states as friends, you pretty much tell the world what you want. And you have it your way, and you play the game exactly how you want. Now, I would really say that Portugal is probably by far the best civilization to play in terms of Brave New World, the new expansion pack, because all around she does fairly well. But anyway, so diplomatic is highly recommended. Secondly, I'd recommend science. The Nows and the Featoras will grant tons of money for you, so you can expand extremely quickly. And since you expand extremely quickly, you're able to buy those libraries, buy those science-inducing buildings a lot quicker than you normally would be able to, because you have the money to do so. And it's a good alternative to diplomacy if you didn't really want to do it. So I would recommend that one. And then thirdly would be domination. You can cash in all the money for the military units and start a big old conquest. Now, it's not something I would recommend too much. I mean, it's somewhat recommended to do this because you can just slowly eliminate every single AI that you encounter. But I wouldn't do it right all at once, because you want to use the AI as best as you can and make use of the best of the trade routes as you can, and stay with the city-states, so that way later on you can just knock out an AI at a time, if that makes any sense. So that way you have all your city-states providing you the resources rather than the actual AI computer players. So it's somewhat recommended, but I wouldn't recommend it too much, because again, you're basically killing off your trade routes, like killing off your buddies. And lastly, I would recommend culture. For this, just build a few cities, trade as best as you can, and then buy cultural buildings and stay near the coast. Now, Portugal is a coastal civilization. Normally you're going to be in the coastal regions unless you're playing a map type that's not going to have coast. So, anyway, that one's somewhat recommended. I would say culture is probably the weakest one, because I would really recommend on expanding as best as you can. I mean, culturals, that works just as fine as all the other ones, really. There's really no bad victory condition for Portugal, because you kind of can go with anything and do fairly well, as most money-making civilizations do. Anyway, so now I will show you the 2 special units, the Now and the Feitoria. So the Now will cost you 120 production. It's a naval melee unit. Its combat strength is 20, its movement is 5, so it's a fast ship. It has exotic cargo, extra sight, and withdrawal before melee. So, what exactly is this exotic cargo? Let's find out. So it may sell exotic goods when adjacent to a foreign tile to gain gold and experience based on distance from capital, but only once. So essentially, if you are to send this badass ship way, way, way far away to a land that you barely know, that's way far away, you will get tons of gold and experience because of how far you traveled. It's kind of like saying how the Europeans tried to travel all the way to China, westward, and then they moved into North America, and that expansionism started. But anyway, so it's kind of like saying that, eventually they found a trade route to China, made them lots of gold, made them rich, hooray, kind of that way. Anyway, then the Feitoria is Portuguese for factory. Didn't know that. But what this does, you can build this into city-states lands on a coastal tile without a resource. Provides 1 copy of each luxury resource type that city-state has connected, regardless of your status with that city-state. but that copy cannot be traded. It also provides the same 50% defense bonus as a fort, so you can use this bad boy as a fort. But more importantly, if you're allied with the city-state, you'll get double the quantity of the luxury resource that you're kind of taking from them through the Feitoria. So it's very nice. Plus, if you're not allied with them, you still get a portion of the luxury resource. So it's very nice to bolster that happiness that you need. So now I will show you the social policies I would recommend if you were to play Portugal. Before I show you any social policies, I'll show you the start bias of Portugal. So this is a fairly good indication of what you should expect. Pearls, coastal tiles, grassland, you'll expect not so much desert, but more or less plains. You will expect hills, mountains, forests, not too much jungle, but you may run into that. So now I'll show the social policies. I would definitely highly recommend patronage. And why is that? Clearly it's so that way you can get into the World Congress. Not that that really has anything to do with it, but if you get the World Congress and you have patronage, then those two will help you tons. And the reason for that is because through that you'll get the resting point for influence with all city-states increased by 20, meaning that 20 out of 30 is essentially what your resting bonus would be, so that way all you need is 10 influence to make them your friend, and that is very important. And then all city-states with your allies provide a science bonus equal to 25% of what they produce themselves. You get some more science out of it, and then you'll get more quantity of resources, and then the Feitoria helps out with that as well. You'll get great people out of the city-states as well. And then the other one I'd recommend would be commerce. And why commerce? Will boost gold output in capital city 25% and will unlock Big Bend for you. Two very important things. Maintenance on roads and railroads will be reduced. Essentially, this thing helps you gain tons and tons of money. It's extremely important to get this. And then protectionism will help you with +2 happiness from each luxury resource. So we'll just get you more happiness for a really happy nation, or at least what should be a really happy nation. And again, as I mentioned, Portugal seems almost overpowered because there's a lot of gold and happiness that you can get through the civilization rather easily, and those two combined together tend to be a very dominant force. So if you do want to play a good civilization, a well-rounded civilization at that too, I would definitely recommend Portugal. So please rate, subscribe, and comment, and check out my other videos. Thank you for watching.